Brooke Lancaster.
All right, I've been given really strict instructions about this. Okay, is that good?
Yeah.
Great. Well, when I moved to New Orleans, the first thing that I found was a coffee house and card players. Spades is my game, and some nights it would get rowdy and really competitive. Newton was about a little bit taller than me, shaved brown head, muscular tattoos running up him. Our paths crossed because we were the only two people who could beat Eddie. You see, Eddie had just gotten out of prison, and he used his fingers to telegraph his hand to his partner. That's right, each finger stood for a different suit. The number of times he tapped it told you exactly what he was holding. Not exactly sure when Newton and I became best friends, but I think it was the night that we went to the movies. And I got a call before the movie started that my aunt had committed suicide. So I left in tears, went outside and sat and cried with my head in my hands. And Newton sat right next to me. And he listened. He listened the whole time. And when I looked up, he had tears in his eyes. And he said, "My father murdered my mother, and then he and my uncle hung themselves in a suicide pact." After that, we did everything together. We did what all best friends do. We argued about the intricacies of Kafka. We played speed chess, we listened to Zydeco bands, and every week we went to feed the homeless at the local shelter. We even worked together. Newton got me my first job working on a construction crew. And in order to pass the time, we made up games on our break. So during lunch, we made up this game where you would sit outside, and you got a point for every person who turned and would look at you just based on what you said. So I would say stuff like, "Did you know that I can fit 7 quarters in my nostril?" He would say, "I got so drunk last night, but I didn't expect to wake up naked next to my sister." Always one. And on our smoke breaks, we would go stand outside next to the bank, and there was an armored car that drove by every single day that afternoon. So while smoking our cigarettes, we'd plan this fake heist. I would be like, "Hey, Newton, have you ever noticed that the guy, he always gets out of the car, but he never looks around him? And when he goes inside, he comes back out and he walks in front of the car. His partner is never paying attention. He's always like reading the paper." Newton would counter, "Don't you think it's more important that it takes a guy 30 seconds to open up the back of the truck, that he's in there for 10 minutes? I mean, if you're gonna do this, we should do it fast and flawless, right?" We'd be like, "Yeah, right." And we always planned a getaway too. My getaway ended with a fruity drink and a beach in Belize. Lots of money. After about a year, Newton fell on some hard times and he came to live with me and my boyfriend. We had a spare room and it was nice having extra company. But, you know, you always wonder if your roommate's gonna be a good idea. And Newton was the best roommate ever. He was meticulously clean. He never played his music too loud. He always cleaned up after himself. And he even offered to pay us all the time. He's like, "Let me give you money for rent. Let me give you $5 for that piece of pizza that's been sitting in the fridge for the last 10 days. I was like, "No, we don't want your money. Save your money, get on your feet. You know, that's just what best friends do for each other. It's no big deal." So about 8 months goes by, we're all living together. I come home from work, and I hear the phone ring. And I pick it up. I'm like, "Hey, John. Hey, is Newton there?" "No, Newton's not here." "Go get a newspaper." "Why?" I don't have a paper. I don't want to go get one. It's dark outside." "No, go get one. And call me back when you figure it out." And then he hung up on me. So bewildered, I was like, "What's going on?" "Well, I guess I have to figure out." So I go down to this, walk myself down to the store in the middle of the night, and I get a newspaper. And I can't even read it on the way back because it's too dark. So I show up in the house, I put the paper on the table, and I start flipping through it. And then I turn the page, and I see a picture of Newton. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my best friend's in the paper. And then I'm confused and disoriented, and I read the top of the page, and I'm like, most wanted by the FBI. My entire world tilted. And I keep reading. Bank robbery. My best friend is wanted for bank robberies. Bewildered, I called John, and I couldn't even speak. And he said, look around your house. Do you see anything of his? And then I realized, I started looking, and there was not a shred of evidence left. Nothing of his. Not a shirt, not a hairbrush, not a blanket, not a note with his handwriting on it, nothing. It was like he never even existed. And then in a mad rush, everything clicked into place. I was like, he can't get an apartment because he doesn't have an ID. He worked a job for cash because he can't open a bank account. His parents are alive and well. His name was a lie. His age was a lie. Everything about him was a lie. And then I was like, oh shit. I asked him where I should hide my grandmother's diamonds. So I ran back in the bathroom and I hid them in a tampon box under the sink. And I looked in the tampon box. Every single diamond was there. So, I just lost my best friend in an instant. And every single thing I thought about him was a lie. But I'm sure, after looking in that box, that we really were friends.